Welcome to Living from the Inside Out with Holly Wade. Living from the Inside Out is about living fully, guided from your inside. Holly shares the wisdom of how your mind, body, and spirit are truly connected and that you deep down know your own answers. Holly and her guests will provide tips, practices, and inspirational stories to help you approach your life from your own heart. And here's Holly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Holly Wade with Holly Wade Wellness. Welcome to this week's episode of Living from the Inside Out. The intention of this show is exactly that, to learn to understand our bodies from how it functions, the physical or physiological, the emotional or the mind, and how our thoughts, our beliefs, our patterns impact our health. And from that spiritual standpoint, and a lot of times I'll interweave all three of those. Today, we're going to talk about 6 ways to make your cells happy. How to create health, how to create these regenerating cells so that they function healthy and allow you to live for a long time and feel as good as possible for as long as possible. When we understand disease, we understand health. That's really kind of how it works. It's like yin and yang. So here's a question that I like to ask people. If you had a dance party going in your body and every cell was a part of this party, what kind of music would you have? What kind of dance party would you have going on? For me, it would be a salsa dance party, because when you listen to salsa music, you can't help but come to life and smile and want to move and just join the party, because it is a party. What would yours be? And how did it feel? How did your body feel to think about that idea of a dance party in your body? Did you know you have 30 to 40 trillion cells in your body? It's estimated. There's no real way to get the true number. It depends on how it's being calculated, but it's estimated that you have 30 to 40 trillion with a T cells in your body. Now imagine all of them having the best time ever for the duration of their life in your body. And did you know that every day, 50 to 70 billion with a B of those cells are regenerating? Now here's a loaded piece of information for you. You're responsible for every one of those cells in your body and for their lifespan, for how they regenerate. That is actually the epitome of health right there. The basis of how you treat your body so that every single cell can regenerate. So here are 6 ways, things that you can do on a daily basis to help your cells function healthy and regenerate healthy. Because that's really the goal. And when we understand what's creating malfunction in your cells, we can turn it around so that they start to regenerate as healthy cells. That's the good news. And I'm going to dive into that today. So I've talked about these the last few weeks, and if you go back into previous episodes of Living from the Inside Out, you can find some tips on how to reduce stress and how to practice meditation and some of those things to further enhance what I'm talking about today. So I encourage you to go back to other episodes on either iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com, any of those platforms, Spotify, that carry Living from the Inside Out, so that you can further enhance your health and well-being. Because when we become a warrior for our health and our lives, everything else changes. So number one, nutrition. I've talked about this in the last couple of episodes. And ultimately, the goal and role of nutrition is to help with metabolic function, which is the energy of our cells. We need those cells to fire carbohydrates. We need those cells to utilize fat. We need those cells to be building blocks, utilizing proteins. So the role of nutrition is energy. It protects the outer layer of our cellular membrane, and it helps our bodies do what it's supposed to do properly. It helps those cells to do what they're supposed to do properly. Carry metabolic waste out of the body, or to rebuild and form new muscle, which isn't just our skeleton or our outside muscles, but remember that your organs are also muscles. And we want those to regenerate, right? Our blood is made up of cells. Our immune system is made up of cells. So every single cell in our body has a role and function. And the distribution of nutrition will help it to function in the way that it's supposed to. We need water. Water helps our bodies to move waste, to regulate temperature, for hormones to function properly, to take in those nutrients. So everything works in tandem. It's not like one thing or another is the thing that's going to create health. All of these things interwork, if that makes sense. Like our cells need all of these. How's your sleep? See, these aren't glamorous, glitzy things. They are basics. And it's really crazy to me how we will go for that really sexy picture or idea of what it takes. We want the bling. But when it comes to just the basics, it's like, I don't want to do that. But it's not complicated. That's the thing that I really want you to understand. It's not complicated. It is the basics. And when we stay with those, we create health for the long term, for the long run. When we get into these fads, that's when we lose sight of the long term. That's when we start to run into issues. So nutrition, hydration, sleep. What does sleep do for your cells? Well, that's when our body is replacing chemicals, repairing muscles and tissues, and helping to remove those aging or dead cells. So there's a reason it's called beauty sleep. We need it. It's when our body is refunctioning or regenerating so that it can function. Man, I'm having a hard time talking today. But it's when our body regenerates so that it can function properly. It's when our cells replenish and can slough off. And so that sleep is really important downtime. And often when we're sick, our bodies need sleep, right? There's a reason. That's when our immune system can do its thing. Rest, hydration, and nutrition is always what we go to when we're sick. And it's always the thing that we should keep steady when we're not sick. What about breathing? Don't underestimate the power of your breath. So let's take a moment right now to take a few deep belly breaths, because we have lost the ability to breathe properly. A baby breathes correctly. They breathe from the belly. They use that diaphragm. They fully engage those lungs and let them expand into the rib cage. So notice what that feels like. And as you do that, make sure that that air hits the back of your throat so that you're fully taking in air. And what you're doing as you do that is getting oxygen into your body. And more importantly, allowing the function of oxygen, the role of oxygen, to get into every cell of your body. So what does oxygen do? It's helping your body metabolize nutrition. Little fact for you, oxygen is antiviral. I just learned that little fact a little while ago, and I think it's a great piece of trivia and a great motivator for taking those deep, full breaths. And then notice what happens. We naturally de-stress, right? Oxygen has a really, really important role in our cellular function, in creating those healthy, happy cells. So number 5, exercise. There's more to it than just the outcome of looking good. So here's what exercise is actually doing. Again, it's metabolizing those cells. Well, why is metabolism so important? We want them to function. They have a job to do. And that energy that is utilized allows them to do that more effectively or more efficiently. So exercise enhances fat metabolism, how our body burns fat as fuel. We need fat. And it's not we are what we eat. We need fat. It's one of the main things that our body utilizes, even as we're just sitting here. Now, one thing that happens is stress is a cause of cellular dysfunction or malfunction. It oxidizes the cell, which is one thing that nutrition does when we have why am I going blank today? When we eat our fruits and vegetables, it kind of does, like when you cut an apple, it'll oxidize, so it'll kind of rust, so to speak, right? Fruits and vegetables give us our phytochemicals. Oh my goodness, I could not think of the word today. Gives us our phytochemicals to help to keep our cells from oxidizing. We want that. We need that so that they don't rust, basically, right? Well, stress accelerates that. It also shortens the telomeres, which in our cells. And our telomeres are what store our DNA or our genetic code. So every time a cell regenerates, it's copying the genetic code into the new cell. When it doesn't do that properly, that's when we have this malfunction, and that's when we can have a result of cancer, of the buildup of cellular regeneration, and not in a healthy way. It's like those cells just build, kind of out of control and create a tumor. And part of that is that there's a mishap in the genetic code. So we want those telomeres to copy correctly. And when the shortening of a telomere isn't copied correctly, that's a problem. So exercise protects that genetic info. It keeps those telomeres lengthened. There's research that shows that 75 minutes, or confirms that the 75 minutes of vigorous activity that our government recommends did not shorten those telomeres. and that the women that they studied that did less than 75 minutes, those telomeres shortened, accelerating aging, accelerating the predisposition for things like dementia, things like cancer, things like, man, I'm losing it today. I'm losing my mental capacity. Alzheimer's. So exercise allows the ability for those telomeres to stay healthy and strong. We want that. It allows our cells to regenerate and stay healthy rather than to progress the aging process. Look at yogis. Look at people who have practiced yoga for like years. They don't age as quickly as their counterparts. There's a reason. There are many reasons, I think. So we've talked about nutrition. We've talked about water or hydration. We've talked about sleep. We've talked about exercise. We've talked about deep breathing or getting oxygen. The last one is your thoughts, your mood. How does that impact cellular repair, cellular growth, cellular function? Well, interestingly, our mood from our brain, if you have a thought, mind-body connection, we have two expressions. So every emotion or energy in motion is going to be an expression of love or an expression of fear. So love, let's talk about those words, those moods or those emotions. It's happiness and joy and gratitude and love, all those things. And then we have fear. So other words to replace it can be anger, frustration, stress, sadness, grief. And while we need to express all of those emotions, there's a very real chemical change that happens as a result of what's going on in the brain or in the mind. And what that does is it change, because our brain, the function of our brain, I love this stuff. The function of our brain is actually to enhance or to monitor all of the chemical responses that are going on in the body. So you can think about the central nervous system being kind of like the physics of the body. And then there's also the chemical reactions that happen. So our hormonal functions, our immune function, our bodily regulations, right? So our blood chemistry changes. Blood is the carrier of all of those chemical functions in our body. And when we get that thought or emotion, it's going to drive that chemical reaction and the blood flow that is getting that to every part of your body. Now think about what your blood does. It carries oxygen to every cell in the body. It's regulating every cell in some way, shape, or form. And then nerves are the physics part. They're communicating those signals of, hey, move your hand. Hey, heart, beat. So the two have to run in tandem. And the brain oversees all of that. Now, when you have a fear response, a stress response, grief, sadness, any of that, your stress response kicks in. So it amps up those stress hormones of cortisol, norepinephrine, and histamine. The other function is that it shuts down your cell's ability to grow or regenerate. And it shuts down your immune system. And isn't that fascinating? Because that's really kind of when we need our immune systems to stay boosted. And think about Just a side note, think about what you do when you're under stress. We eat crap food instead of nutrients, instead of really nutrient-dense foods, right? We're going to go for the sugar, which creates another cascade of things. Our immune system's already down, so we're going to feed those bad bugs in our gut with more sugar. Just a little side note there. Now, on the flip side, when we're feeling love, the love hormone is oxytocin. Women, that's the thing that you get when you are delivering that baby, right? You go through all of this, and then when that baby comes, you forget it all because thanks to that oxytocin. When we're in love, that feeling that we have, that magic feeling, it's all the oxytocin. We become addicted to it. There's nothing wrong with it. That's why touch is so important. Just that human connection of touch is really, really important to keep that oxytocin up and to keep that serotonin up and to keep those growth hormones up. That's what slows down the aging process. Like that glow that people have when they're in love, that's what it is. So oxytocin regulates metabolism and supports growth. We want that. Supports the cellular growth. We want that. Here's an interesting fact. In 40 days, every blood cell in your body has regenerated. So think about that. If you've been under great distress, flip it. Eat really well. Spend 40 days just focusing on the basics, eating really well, focusing on gratitude and de-stressing, doing things like deep breathing, doing things like meditation, exercise, getting a good night's sleep, and see how that turns things around. Because you've had the chance to change that cellular function or the chemistry, the biochemistry in your blood. Guarantee it's going to change how everything else appears. In the first 30 days, the first 4 weeks, first 28 days actually, of my Lifetime Warrior program, we're focusing just on the basics of the human body. The eating, the sleeping, the exercising, and I'm going to add breath work as a component to that. That kind of bleeds into the second, but I'm going to add that in the first layer, I think, now. And that's all we're going to work on, building that groundwork of just the basics to start to turn our health around. The next segment is the toolbox of stress. Deep breathing, continuing with exercise, continuing with all those layers that we did, but now starting to understand the stressors in your life and starting to understand how it feels in your body so that you have the power to change that. The last 4 weeks, what's your vision for your life? And how do we set boundaries around your health and your life so that you are living out your life's purpose? If you are interested in becoming a warrior for your health and your life, email me at holly@hollywade.wellness and let's get you going. Let's get on a 30-minute call to give you one practical tool to help you fill that gap in your health right now. That's what holistic health is. It's finding those gaps and figuring out really practical, simple solutions that you can apply right away so that you can live your most vibrant life for as long as possible. Because I do know this, your body is not something to make you a prisoner. Your body is doing everything that it can to help you. And now it's your job to take responsibility for what you're putting in it and how you're treating it so that you can help it. This is the only body you're going to get. So we might as well figure out how to treat it really, really well. So to help your cells function, starting today, eat well. Eat those fruits and vegetables, eat that protein, get that fat, because that nutrition is what's going to help your cells function. Hydrate. It's what's going to help your body to release and get rid of the toxic waste. Get sleep. That's when your body regenerates those cells. Breathe deeply. Get that oxygen into your body. It helps with your metabolism. Exercise. Use that fuel and that energy that you've put into your body. Your cells don't want to sit stagnant. They want to have a dance party too. Exercise is a way you can do that. And change your thoughts. What's creating that roadblock? What is your mood? Change it. You have more power than you think, because that mood, love or fear, expressions of either one of those is driving the chemistry of your body. And we want those cells to function healthy and happy. And that's what sets Lifetime Warrior apart from other programs. Other programs only look at the physical or only look at the emotional. We're looking at your physical, your emotional, and your life. We're putting it all together in 90 days. That's one quarter of the year. And once you've applied it, then you know how to reapply it so that you can live your life to the fullest and really live out your life purpose. When you're sick, you can't do that. I know, been there. So email me at holly@wadewellness.com and let me know how I can help you, because it's really important to me that we change this world. Let me know. Thanks for joining this week's episode of Living from the Inside Out. I hope that all of this information helps you to understand that your body is really practical and it's not asking for weird, strange, woo-woo, out there, glitzy things. It's just rolling your sleeves up and doing the basics and really making that commitment to yourself. Join us next week for another episode.
Thank you for joining us at Living from the Inside Out. Listen every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. To connect with Holly, just go to www.globalvoiceradio.com. Global Voice Radio is where your voice and your message is heard.